Join me as I take on the challenge of transforming my biggest enemies into allies. Let's see if I can actually pull it off. Today I want to talk about something that I think we all struggle with at some point or another: transforming our enemies into allies. This concept is so relevant in both our personal and professional lives. Think about it. How many times have we found ourselves in conflict with someone, whether it's a family member, a coworker, or even a stranger online? But what if I told you that there's a way to change that dynamic, to flip the script and turn those adversaries into allies? That's exactly what we're going to explore today. One of the main reasons we struggle to transform enemies into allies is because we've got some pretty big misconceptions about conflict. We think that conflict means someone has to win and someone has to lose. We think that if we're right, the other person has to be wrong. And we think that if we give in, we're somehow weak or admitting defeat. But I want to challenge those beliefs today. Conflict isn't about winning or losing. It's about understanding and being understood. We also tend to view opponents as adversaries, as enemies who are trying to take us down. We focus on their flaws, their mistakes, and their weaknesses. And because of that, we forget that they're human beings just like us, with their own fears, desires, and motivations. We forget that they have families, friends, and colleagues who care about them. And we forget that, at the end of the day, we're all in this together. Another big misconception is that we think conflict is a fixed state. We think that once someone is our enemy, they're always going to be our enemy. But I want to tell you that that's just not true. People can change, circumstances can change, and perceptions can change. And it's up to us to be open to that change, to be willing to reframe our relationships and start anew. So how do we start to reframe those relationships to turn our enemies into allies? That's where active listening comes in. Active listening is about more than just hearing the words someone is saying. It's about understanding their perspective, their emotions, and their needs. It's about acknowledging that their viewpoint is valid, even if we don't agree with it. And it's about responding in a way that shows we care, that shows we're invested in finding a solution that works for both parties. Empathy is another crucial tool in our toolbox. When we can put ourselves in someone else's shoes, when we can imagine how they're feeling and what they're going through, that's when the magic happens. That's when we start to see our enemies as people, as human beings with their own stories and struggles. And that's when we start to build bridges instead of walls. Finding common ground is also key. When we focus on what we have in common, rather than what sets us apart, that's when we start to build alliances. That's when we start to see that our goals and values aren't that different after all. And that's when we start to work together towards a common purpose. I want to share a story with you that really illustrates the power of turning conflicts into alliances. I was working with a team on a project, and one of the team members, let's call her Sarah, was really struggling to get on board with the vision. She was resistant to change, and she was vocal about her dissent. At first, I saw her as an enemy, as someone who was trying to sabotage the project. But then I took a step back and I realized that she was scared. She was scared of the unknown, she was scared of losing control, and she was scared of failing. So I started to listen to her, to really hear what she was saying. I started to empathize with her, to understand where she was coming from, and I started to build bridges, to find common ground. Fast forward a few months, and Sarah became one of the biggest champions of the project. She became an ally, a partner, a friend. And it was all because I took the time to listen, to empathize, and to find common ground. In conclusion, I want to leave you with this. Transforming enemies into allies is not only possible, but it's necessary. It's necessary for our personal growth. It's necessary for our professional success. And it's necessary for creating a better world. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to share your own experiences in the comments below. Have you ever turned an enemy into an ally? How did you do it? Let me know. And if you want to learn more about conflict resolution strategies, be sure to check out my next video.